Hey guys, it's Badfish4650 bringing you another awesome YouTube video. So today we're going to be messing with my Hobie Pro Angler 12. We're going to be installing the Boonedox aluminum rudder. So you're going to basically be going through the steps with me. I've never done this before. So we're going to video my progress on how it gets done. Boonedox does have a couple of installation videos on their website. Or on their YouTube channel, so you can watch those as well. But this is how, a real person is going to go about installing it that's never done it before. So stay tuned. Appreciate you guys watching. If you the first time here, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button up there, and we'll be bringing you more of these videos in the coming months. So we appreciate it. All right, guys. So what I've done is basically got our tools together with what we're going to need. So far what it looks like is just a Phillips head screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver. I have my drill out here just so I don't have to go crazy unscrewing screws. And then you can either use a clamp or a set of vice grips. What those are going to be for is these little Delrin plastic rings, or like a spacer that goes in between the housing on the bottom and the aluminum portion of the rudder. If you look closely, there's actually a kind of like a flange type dealio on there, so your screw will sit nice and flush if it needs to. But the Boonedox rudder guy recommended actually super gluing those on and clamping them. So that's what we're going to do first, and then while that's drying, we're going to disassemble the rudder assembly and go that route. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys. So the first thing we're going to do is glue these plastic pieces on here. From what I gathered from the information I saw online, basically the easiest way to do it is to take your Phillips head screwdriver, this guy, and you're going to take one of these spacers, and you're going to stick it through one side. Actually, we'll go ahead and glue this one. It's hard working on the back of the kayak. Alright. So we'll take this super glue, which is just Gorilla Glue. You can pick it up at any hardware store. Make sure you get the right side, and we're just going to liberally put a bunch of super glue on there. I'm going to stick it on here, and then basically we will take this guy, stick it through the hole, try to balance everything, and you're going to do the same on this other side. Find the right side of the thing, super glue, super glue. Put that guy down, and then we're going to take our clamp, which is, like I said, is an optional thing, and we're just going to clamp this down nice and tight. Pull this out. Basically use the screwdriver to make sure that the holes are lined up. When you pull the screwdriver up, as you can see, the holes are nice and lined up there. So now we got this all clamped down. We're going to put this in a place where it's not going to fall or anything crazy like that. We're going to let this dry for a few minutes, and then while we're doing that, we're going to take apart the rest of the kayak so we can add this. So the first thing we have to do is take this cover off. There's 4 Phillips head stainless steel screws. And we're going to put those aside. We'll put those right there so we don't lose them. Then this cover comes off, and what this does, it actually lets you see all of your rudder controls and cables and things like that. So the next one we want to do is, there's 3 Phillips head screws here. The middle one actually holds this whole plastic guy on. So we're going to take our screwdriver, carefully undo that stainless steel bolt right there. And that comes out. Once again, we'll set that aside. And this whole thing just pulls right off and flops around, and it exposes this pin. This pin should slide back and forth, but it's not. So what we might need to do is actually release the rudder first and then see if that releases. So let me do that. Alright, so one problem I've already ran across is this pin is kind of seized in there. It's pretty tight. So what I'm going to do is just take my trusty pair of Kleins and my Phillips head screwdriver and kind of just give it a couple light taps. And that'll pull the pin right out. Now once this pin pulls out, this whole thing's going to fall. So I'm going to pull that out, and then the whole rudder assembly falls down and just hangs there. So the next thing we're going to do is, if you can see on here, there's a knot right there with this rope. So we're going to go ahead and untie that knot, and then we can start disassembling this and installing the new rudder. Alright, so we went ahead and removed the rudder assembly. This guy is on the bottom. There's actually another spacer in here that may move with this particular unit here. So if you look, you can see there's a flathead screw there and a Phillips head screw there. And what this is actually, I think the Phillips head side is actually like it's almost like a nut, and this is just a regular flathead. So if I hold this like so, actually I believe the other guy did it like this. So that holds it up. So you can see we got the Phillips head side, so we'll put our screwdriver in there and our screwdriver in here, and hopefully, oh boy, that's tight. But it is coming out, it's not seized up, so. But you can see it takes a little bit of work into it, especially if your kayak is older and never had any service done to your rudder or anything like that. This is all not going to look perfect like it does on the Boonedox video, and it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt to take out. There we go. Nice and loose. So we'll go ahead and put that aside, and we'll take this guy, tap that other side out. See, this should come out. And there's the pin, and then the rudder falls out. Now you got to be careful, because in this rudder assembly there's this spring. Okay, so that spring, it will come out, but it's probably easier just to keep it all together. Also, if you're not careful, after you take this pin out, this stainless steel assembly right here will also come out. So here's the old rudder. That's what it looks like. Mine's all scratched up from being used and everything else. So yeah. So we're going to replace that with the Boonedox. So once that dries, we'll put it on there. Alright, so the next thing you want to do is figure out which way the rudder is supposed to go. It goes a specific direction. These little tabs actually go on this flat, longer part of this. So what you want to do is take this hole right here, and you basically take the end of your spring and put it in that hole, and you're going to lay the spring back in there. Now, these little spacers are actually a little big, so this is going to widen out. And what you want to do is get it to where it sits like that, to where it's pretty level. And then what you're going to do is take your pin, this pin, okay, and you're going to squeeze this in there until those holes line up, which may not be the easiest thing. Oh, look at that. I got it right away. See, I got one side. You got to kind of manipulate it. You might have to give a little whack or two. Alright, so after a little bit of fighting, we got the flathead pin in there, or the nut pin, whatever nut thing. So what we're going to do is we can now reinstall the Phillips head side. It doesn't really matter which side you put the Phillips head in or the flathead in. It doesn't really matter. It's a pin that goes through and holds this whole assembly together. But you want to make sure you get it nice and tight. So what we're doing is just tightening up the screw again to tighten this whole assembly back up. And this was pretty tight. I don't know if I guess we'll just tighten it all the way back up. Yeah, see, it still moves. It's kind of hard with this thing spinning all over the place. We'll give it a nice little torque. We'll see if it still moves. Okay, it moves. Alright, so this is the basic assembly now. Everything's all put back together. This thing still flops back and forth. The spring works as it should. A lot of fingerprints on there from the grease somebody put on my shaft there, but that looks pretty good. So now we're going to go and stick it back through the bottom and put the pin in and see how that works out. Alright, so just like with the rudder inside this assembly, you want to make sure that this is lined up correctly, and you basically want the round side of the rudder facing the front of the kayak and the flat side facing the back of the kayak. One also thing that'll give it away is this little hole here for the rope. So what we're going to do is get back onto the kayak. We're going to push it up through this hole. Okay, and you push it up a little higher, and what you're going to do is put this pin in here. You don't have to line it up, and that just holds the rudder in. So now that the rudder's installed, that's what she looks like down there. So all we have to do underneath now is just hook up that rudder cable, but what we need to do first is put this whole assembly on the top back together. So let me hand off the camera and we'll do that. Now this pin, right, if you look inside your assembly here, this pin orientates with an indentation here. This pin is not the easiest thing to move, so what you want to do is kind of line it up. As you can see, one end is shorter than the other, so we're going to line it up the best we can. And then snap this guy back on. It's not the easiest thing to do. As you can see, it's taking me a few tries. There we go. Okay, and then you'll feel it sit down, like nice and tight in there. And then you take your other stainless steel screw, put this back in the top, make sure all your rudder cables are out of the way. Make sure not to cross thread the screw, which seems like it's cross threading on me. Okay, so like I said, be careful to cross thread the screw. This one just happened to have a little bit of gunk in the threads. So what we're going to do is tighten that up best we can, and then we'll move it to make sure it's not too tight. I think we'll be pretty good, and then we'll just wrap the rudder cables away. Just kind of out of the way, I guess, somehow, some way. Alright, whatever. We'll get back to that. I don't want to put the cover back on this yet, just in case I need to make some final adjustments. I want to make sure that the steering is good, that the rudder releases. As you can see, a common issue with these Hobies is that it digs a little hole in here, which mine's already starting to do. So before I close this all up, I'm going to go ahead and hook up this retraction cable to the rudder, and then we'll see how it works. Alright, so as you can see, I got the little retraction rope installed there. Basically, I didn't go all the way to the end of the rope. I left a little bit of tag in there. I know people adjusted to make the pull shorter. But, so the next thing we're going to do is go over to my messy kayak here, and we're going to see if the rudder pulls up. It does, nice and easy. Let it go, falls right down. Steer left and right, no tension, everything's working good, nothing's hitting. So honestly, I think we're good. I mean, all in all, even with me doing this video and taking multiple takes, this only took about 30 minutes maybe to install this whole thing. So we're going to be taking it on the water tomorrow. We'll see how it works, and then I'll update you guys from there, see if it was worth it. Once again, this is Badfish 4650. Make sure you hit that subscribe and follow button, and we'll bring you some more videos. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great one.